Hi everybody, on to my next letter, and this is another one off of YouTube shared privately. Hi Ollie, thanks for your videos. I've been no contact for just over a year except for one incident, which my narc father and his little enabler wife actually drove 200 miles to do the old pop-in a couple months ago. The visit lasted all of 10 minutes, and after much yelling and screaming, I threw them out. On their way out, he's yelling, see how he is? Well, my problem is the hatred and anger I have for him and a few others. It's crippling and I can't get rid of it. I've always had this for him, but I was a pro at hiding it. I can't seem to get it out of my head. I've had a few serious health issues and should be 100% focused on them. I know there's really nothing you can do and thought of therapy, but can't see what he or she can do either. They're just humans and do not know who I am. It might take a year or more to build some kind of trust. I've never put much stock in that field. I'm old school and just keep things to myself naturally. There's such a long story here, like many others, and all the mistakes I've made letting him get away with so many things because he was my father, and the way he's destroying me with lie after lie to family and friends is just about putting me over the edge. If he was to walk in the room right now, I would punch his fucking head off. And that's exactly what he wants me to do. He'd have a field day with that. I can only imagine what he would do with a true incident. There's so much more to this shit. It's mind-boggling. Not to mention what we went, brothers and mother, God rest her soul, through. He drove her to her death back in '93, throughout our childhood. Thanks for your ears and eyes. Well, certainly understand the anger and the pent-up anger. And the see how he is something we've always heard. And, they're doing that for an audience. They're doing that because they're building a flying monkey army to somehow prove, that you're the problem, that you're crazy. He drove 200 miles to push your buttons to get you to snap off on her to snap off on you so he could prove a point to an enabler wife. And I'll tell you why he probably did that. Because if I were to guess, somebody's calling him on his behavior. Somebody's calling him on his behavior in his personal life. And what he's doing here is he's saying, I think it sounds like to me he's been cornered in something 200 miles away on his behavior. And what narcissists love to do is they'll then turn around and say, well, I'm only acting like this because of so-and-so. See, it's something my mother and father love to do. The rare occasion that they're called on for their shitty behavior, it's always to be blamed on me because I've put them through so much agony and so much stress and so many problems throughout since the day I was born, okay, which I'm sure you're in the same boat, okay? So what he had to do now, so obviously it might have been his wife or somebody else, and he's now going to use his wife as his backup. So he drives 200 miles, knocks on your door, pops off a fight, gets the reaction out of you he wants. See, what he's saying is, see, it's him. Or, see, you can go tell everybody what just happened, that I'm not the problem, and I can go back to being the shitty fucking person that I am. Your biggest mistake is you open the door. You should have never opened the door. You move 200 miles away. Don't open the door. Don't acknowledge him. Okay, let him stand out there and pound away. And if he won't leave, you call the police and you say, I have a trespasser. Okay, and this is somebody I'm estranged from and I don't want to talk to him. And here's the mistake. that people do when they try to get the police involved is you try to explain your side of the story to the police. Never do that, because they don't care. All the police need to know is, this is my legal residence. They don't live here. I don't want them here. If the police try to ask you, well, what happened? You say, I'm sorry, that's really my business. I have my reasons. Please get them to leave. And that's it. Once you start trying to explain your story, most cops their eyes are gonna glaze over. They're not gonna want to hear about it, because they're not there to fight your 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old battle with your family. Okay? All they care about is what the law is. The law is they're at your legal residence, uninvited. You don't want them there. Short, sweet, and to the point. And they will appreciate that, and they will try to remove them. Okay? And what you got to be careful, what your parents are going to do is, oh, well, I think he's suicidal, or I think he's this, I think he's dangerous. And all you got to tell the cop is, look, I'm not suicidal. I'm not a danger to myself. This is part of the reason why I live away from them. I'm just asking you to get them to leave. And that's it. And if they try to press you on what the story is, say, I'm sorry, that's none of your business. That's none of your business. That's none of your business. And most cops aren't going to want to know what the problem is. They will appreciate you just being short, sweet, and to the point, saying, this is my legal residence. They're uninvited. I don't want them here. And that's it. And then they will in turn around and say, please leave. You're not wanted here. Okay? If you wanted to work it out with your son, you can write him a letter. You can do whatever but you can't stay here. You can't stay here. And they will appreciate that. You know, you say there's much more to the story, but from what you told me, you've told me plenty. Okay? I understand the anger. I understand the pent-up rage. I understand them trying to pick a fight with you so they can make you look crazy, have you arrested, have you, committed. You did the right thing. Get out. At this point going forward, you know what he is. You know what he's up to. He's building a flying monkey army. If I had to guess, he's being called on his bullshit, okay, back home. Okay, and he needed his narcissistic supply. He needed his enabling ex-wife to either be a witness or to shut her up to your behavior, just so he could skirt away from it. So you did the right thing. Try to work on your anger. I mean, I would recommend finding a therapist, but it's got to be the right therapist. And you have to make sure before you go to therapy that you talk to the therapist on the phone and ask that therapist, do you understand personality disorders? Do you understand narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, gaslighting? Do you understand those 4 things? And enabling, 5. I turn it into 5. Do you understand what those 5 elements are? The 3 types of personality disorders, narcissistic, borderline, and histrionic. Okay, what is an enabler and what is gaslighting? Okay, and then if you want to add on black sheep and golden child, okay, but if they understand those 5, they're going to understand black sheep and golden child anyway. So that would be my recommendation for you, to find a therapist, because talking to somebody will help ultimately. It might not seem so at first, because like when I went to therapy, I would go into such a dark place for like 2 or 3 days afterwards, because you're drudging up these emotions and this anger, and you're talking about it out loud to another person. And you would think getting the acknowledgement would quell it. And it does after a couple days. But it's that original anger, okay, that's coming out like, I can't believe my own fucking father did this to me. I can't believe my own mother did this to me. Whoever your issue was, you're just going to be so angry. And almost getting that acknowledgement from the therapist, like, yeah, you're not the problem. This is a personality disorder. You're abused. You have to go through a different type of anger. You didn't understand your anger when you were a kid. You didn't understand your anger when you were a young adult because you didn't understand what narcissism was and borderline and personality disorders was, what gaslighting is. Nobody even knew how to explain what gaslighting is. You know, and I've said this a million times, you have to give yourself time to get over it. Okay, you've lived with this for however many years you've lived with it for. You're not going to get over it in 6 months or a year. You've dealt with decades of abuse, decades upon decades of abuse. It's not going to get over just because now you understand what narcissism is. You're going to have to process now every little thing that happened to you. So, thank you for the message. I'm sorry I didn't get to it earlier because it's about 3 months ago. But, you know, I guess it all works out for the best because if I wouldn't get screwed over and I didn't do, you know, what I was doing, like I wouldn't be as motivated as I am now. And now I realize I have all these people who have these similar issues and have these stories they shared with me that can really help everybody else. And I'm really getting a nice response out of, I think most everyone is getting a lot out of these and they really appreciate it. So thank you and please keep sending them in. Once again, the link to the GoFundMe is in the description box. Still want to hit it by the end of the month. Remember, if you don't give me if you send a donation and you want me to read your story, you go right to the top of the pile and I immediately make a video for you. Just send me in the comments on the GoFundMe page or send me through here and I'll immediately make a video as soon as I see it. This is Ollie Matthews. Thank you for watching and I'll see you all again real soon. Bye.